When a company has a toxic culture or is being ran into the ground, we look at the CEO as the one ultimately responsible for the conditions of the company. We understand that the unreliable janitor or incompetent middle management being allowed to run the company are all the result of the CEO either asleep at the wheel or willfully allowing it. Yet, in a world where billions of people believe in an intelligent force behind the creation of everything we see and experience, this intelligence is often excused and absolved of all negative or undesirable conditions by many, if not most people. When a product is defective, we blame the manufacturer, understanding that the defective product was merely a result of an overlook or mistake in production. Yet, in the case of this intelligence, we hear reasons like free will, quote unquote. But in my previous videos, I discussed how free will is a wishful concept at best, since we don't get to decide the most fundamental aspects about ourselves, like where we're born, how we look, our parents, and the multitude of aspects we can feel lucky or unlucky for since we didn't decide them. All of this, along with the fact that there's causal happenings and forces in life we merely find ourselves having to accept and deal with limited options, if any. Of course, New Agers will disagree with all of this, since many of them may say we chose all of this, including the kids in an orphanage that didn't survive a fire. They'll say those kids chose that outcome before birth, or it was karma from a past life. Of course, this is gaslighting, defending evil rhetoric to me, but I'll address it further in future videos if the topic is raised. But back to the topic. It can almost feel like being put on a greased slide on a playground and being told not to slide down to the bottom, else it's your fault for exercising your alleged free will the wrong way. So now you're fighting against gravity, physics, and fatigue to not slide all the way down. It's almost like a setup to justify an outcome already predetermined. And don't get me wrong, human beings as a collective are far from pious and well-intending. Manipulation, deceit, selfishness, exploitation, and greed have shaped the course of human history. But as I mentioned before, it seems like humans are hardwired in these physical bodies to express these undesirable traits. Some individuals more than others. And yes, humans can be kind, but usually the conditions need to be right for kindness to be the prevailing tune of a culture. In nature, kindness is not rewarded nearly as much as brute force, manipulation, and outright dominance. To the victor goes the spoils. In a game of survival, one would think working together would be in the best interest of the collective. But inequality and diverse differences make it seemingly impossible for that to ever happen on a large scale. Humans are far from a homogeneous species, unlike an ant colony, for example. But keep in mind, even an ant colony works together as long as they're the same species from the same colony of ants. An ant colony crossing paths with another ant colony of another species will either avoid each other or attack each other. such as red ants versus black ants, where the red ants are the aggressors. Human beings are unique in that even though we're all the same species technically, it's almost as if nature gave us inherent genetic differences to cause division. From phenotype and body type differences across cultures, and even within a particular culture or group, we have individuals that are noticeably different from others. Some individuals are more gifted for their environment or social construct, while others are obviously more disadvantaged in things like their physical, psychological, intelligence, health, and emotional makeup from birth. Inequality in the social construct is often the result, which often causes division within divisions. It's as if nature itself set it up for humanity as a whole to never be at full unity. I mean, we're already in a zero-sum Hunger Games setup as is, where even the animals are in a constant survival fight with species versus species and even against groups of animals within their own species. Humans have shown to be not much different. It's like everything is following a blueprint. In ongoing videos, I'll make the argument that there is intelligence behind this setup, and division and conflict is its main tool, so we're not united against it, and to keep us at a debased level to be controlled and used. And while everyone and everything remains busy in survival mode, the real orchestrators run amok and often receive praises for the gaslighting, Stockholm Syndrome madhouse it or they design. An abusive relationship sprinkled with just enough beauty and treats to keep most not only blinded but clinging to it. There's lots of incidents where ignorance can very well be bliss, but usually at the price of stunted growth and getting exploited in the meantime. And when something does go wrong, which it usually does, the once ignorantly blissful person can be left confused, disappointed, and broken because they had no idea as to what they were in or dealing with the whole time. A child can be exploited by an adult and remain happy, having no idea they're being taken advantage of. But once that child reaches an age of reasoning, they can find themselves looking back in pain and horror to the things they naively allowed. Which is why happiness alone is not a reason to justify everything. This is why it's the adult's job to not only protect, but to teach their child about their environment. Having metaphorical eyes open to reality is rarely a happy process. There's a high correlation between depression and mental difficulties in highly intelligent individuals. The more knowledge gained, the more mental and emotional fortitude is required. Plus, having to deal with being constantly misunderstood. It's not uncommon for exceptionally intelligent people to suffer mental conditions or at least perceived mental conditions. Someone who understands more than us will tend to move different and prioritize or even trivialize things that may seem counterintuitive to us. The distinctions between insane and enlightened is often misunderstood and not easily processed by most, especially since insanity and genius often tend to overlap. Similar to someone finding out their spouse has been unloyal, or someone finding out they've been lied to about something they believe dearly their entire lives. That person will have the option to cycle through the 5 stages of grief to eventually make an informed, liberating decision or remain in denial because a paradigm of deception is more comforting for them. This is where the road forks. This is why recognizing and processing your observances as unbiased as possible will take anyone down the philosopher's path.